Hey there, welcome to the Psychology of Language. I am Dr. Jesse James, and I guess by way of introduction, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I have been working at Central Washington University for about the last 7 years. Not all of that time has been full-time. I started working as a researcher a number of years ago, full-time in Salt Lake City, and I've just continued to teach some classes for Central on the side, just like 1 or 2 online a term. And I've taught the Psychology of Language probably more than any of the other classes that I've taught, and I'm super excited to be teaching it again. It's such a fun class. We cover so many interesting things like how language evolved in our human history, how children today learn languages, different theories of how they acquire them, disabilities related to language acquisition and language use, how people pull words out of their brain, and the complex methodologies that researchers use to try and figure out the ins and outs of how that works, and competing theories and trying to suss out like which of competing theories are the most accurate or can best account for the data that we see. We cover things in this class like swearing, lying, how to persuade other people, using metaphors, also bilingualism, how to learn a second language as a child, an adult, benefits that you might have if you're bilingual. Also things like how language influences our thinking and what thinking looks like in the absence of language, and all kinds of fun things like that. So as we proceed through the term, I'm sure that you will find that you enjoy the material as much as I enjoy sharing it. But here, just at the outset, let me give you a little bit of an introduction to the course structure of how things are going to end up looking as we proceed through the term. So I have patterned this class after an in-person class, and the way that looks is if you think about an in-person class most of the time, if you're taking a 4-credit class like this is, then you will be sitting in class for 4 hours a week. Usually that's like Monday through Thursday, 1 hour a day. And for that reason, I have given us daily assignments. Of course, this is a slightly condensed term because it's the summer, and so whereas you'd normally be only assigned to work Monday through Thursday, in order to get through all the material in 9 weeks, we're going to have an hour a day approximately Monday through Friday. Of course, I've tried to make sure that the material in the lesson takes only about an hour, as it might if you were sitting in class, but it might take a little bit longer to do some additional study, some additional reading, sometimes taking the multiple choice quiz at the end of each lesson will just take a little longer. I recognize that if you were in an in-person class, that you would sit there and participate in activities and lecture for about an hour, but you would also be expected to kind of prepare for class beforehand, to do some homework after. So I've tried to consider that an hour is a good starting point, but sometimes it might take a little bit longer than that. But you should expect to participate for about an hour to 2 hours a day throughout the entirety of this term. And of course, I recognize that your schedule might not work perfectly to allow you to do work every day, and so of course you can work ahead. Like if you know that you're going to be gone out of town or working for a couple of days, and you won't have time to engage with the class, then just make sure you do a couple hours worth of work and work through a couple of the daily assignments in advance, so that you can take a couple of days of work off later in the week. We are going to have periodic discussion boards. These are kind of just built in on days after we discuss a particular topic. So sometimes we encounter like a topic that's especially applicable to the real world, or that I want to kind of discuss in a little bit more detail. And so I kind of take a day pause, and the next day we won't have a new lesson. Instead, we'll engage with the discussion board, and on that discussion board you'll make a post, and you'll be expected to read other students' posts and respond to a couple of them. So you'll give 1 original and 2 responses, and those discussion boards are just a really fun way of engaging with each other, kind of getting to know each other a little bit better, hearing different perspectives, because there isn't always one right answer in these situations. Of course, the empirical facts will suggest that something is true about language, and yet the application of that to the real world might be flexible and abstract. There might be multiple right ways or creative ways of kind of using that new knowledge in a program you might design, or or in some kind of intervention or something like that. So, so that's kind of what we'll do with the discussion boards. We'll have those peppered throughout the term, and then also we will have periodic essay exams, and these exams will cover units. So you'll notice as we go through the lessons that they're numbered like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and that beginning number 1 is the unit number, and then the point something is the number of the lesson. So when we get to Unit 2, the numbers will be 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. So after each unit is completed, then you'll have an essay exam. And these essay exams are untimed, though I do only open them up and allow you to complete them during a 2-day window. So there's 1 day allocated for the exam, but just in case that day doesn't work for you, I actually open it up 24 hours earlier than that. So you'll have 48 hours of a window in which to complete the exam. But like if you need to pause, take a break, do whatever, like you don't have to sit and complete the exam in one sitting. It's not timed within like the Canvas window. You know, you can plug away at it for as long as you need, take as many breaks as you need and stuff like that within that 48 hour window. The essay exams are structured so that they have very, very open-ended prompt, and I'm expecting a 1-page response, double-spaced, but with, you know, no cheating spaces, no, like, you know, extra space between paragraphs or slightly bigger than double-spaced or wide margins or things like that. I don't want any headings on the page. Already Canvas, like, stamps your paper with timestamps and name stamps and class stamps and things like that, so I don't need any of that information. I just want you to start at the top of the page with, like, question 1. And then write your response, so it fills the whole page. And it can go longer than that if you need, but I want at least 1 solid page of well-reasoned, thought-out, good writing. I want you to really work at this. Each exam question, there will be 3 exam questions, and each of those questions will be about some portion of the unit material that you just covered, and I will expect you to integrate material that you learned from the lesson with your own critical thinking and with application, and synthesize material across multiple lessons to kind of integrate it all into one cohesive answer. It will be important that you integrate all that information from the previous lessons, because in the past I've had some students try to like fluff their way through it and pretend like they'd read stuff that they actually hadn't read, and it's really obvious when you haven't like done the pre-work of learning the material, and then you try to sit down and write some stuff based on like your folk psychology or your intuition about how language should work, because language does not work how you think it's going to work. So like pretty often if I see like students making up crap about how they think language should be working, and it's not grounded in the actual facts of the material that we've learned, then it's really easy to tell that the work hasn't been done, that you haven't learned what you're supposed to learn. So I'm just really hoping that everybody will kind of keep up through the daily lessons. It's not that difficult because they're not that long. I've tried really hard to hone the material and really craft it so that it's so that each lesson is well organized and thought out and really clear and concrete, and doesn't have a lot of busy work or extra reading or stupid things that aren't going to be that relevant to what you need to know. I've really worked hard to just select the readings and say in the lectures what needs to be said in order for you to really grasp what you need to know from this class. So not only is it fascinating, but I've also worked really hard to craft these lessons, and I hope that you'll keep up, and that when you get to the exams, that you will feel like you know what you need to include in order to answer those exams well. I just, here as I go, I'll just leave you a fun little comic that you can pause your video and enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you around the next bend. Take care.